In last week's episode of Welding and Wheeling, we headed down to Baldwin, Iowa to check out the spring consignment auction. There was a lot of nice tractors there and a few nice trucks that would have been really useful. But I came home with two much more useful items. So in today's video, we're going to attempt to get one of those items running. So what is this thing? This thing is a Commuter T-380, I believe. There's your serial number. Built right here in Cascade, Iowa, which is pretty close to me, which is kind of cool. So Commuter Industries, they started in 1975, and I believe there was a company in front of them called Pacesetter that built these before them. So I think Pacesetter went out in 1973, and then Commuter came through and bought them out in 75 and started making them. I think this one's an actual Commuter. I don't know what year it is, just somewhere slightly newer than 75, I guess. Commuter made a couple different things, but the 3-wheelers, and then they made a 5-wheeler, and maybe some other stuff. I don't know. Not a whole lot of information out there on them. I had to kind of dig everything up on a forum. So this is a pretty simple machine compared to like a Honda. This has a Kawasaki, basically lawnmower, go-kart, whatever you want to call it, engine. This one is a KF82D, somewhere around 8 or 9 horsepower. This one's 341 cc. It has a Comet torque converter, or at least a very similar Comet. It might actually have been under a different brand at the time. So no transmission at all, but it does have a trans axle. Like I said, no gear selection at all. We'll go ahead and take the plastics off of it here soon. Before we do that, I do kind of want to do a little walk around just to show you the shape this thing's in. So the fenders are actually fiberglass and, you know, decent enough shape. We got a little bit of cracking there. I don't know. The worst of it's there. And there's one other, yeah, right there. And this front fender, a little chewed up, but not too bad. It's like a blue color. I don't know if that's its original color or not. Maybe we'll see when we take the fender off. It does have a steel tank. Doesn't look to be in great shape. The seat's not bad, but we do have some evidence of a little mouse snack. Got this rack on here. I don't know if this is original or not. Kind of a handy size. Our tires are pretty old looking. I think the rears hold air for the most part. For the front, I did have to put some air in it, but it seems to be holding right now. Got a big old fat tire on it. For controls, you got a twist throttle, which is seized up. And we have one brake, which I think is a rear brake. And then the only other thing, we got an on-off switch here, a choke. Looks like at one point it had electric start, but that's gone. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the fender and let's get a good look at the rest of this thing. All I can really see is this one wing nut here. If we pull that, yep. All right, so we got its skirt off. You got more evidence of mouse behavior. They really chew right through that thing. Does seem to be pretty complete though. I don't know if it was supposed to have another air filter cover or not. Probably, being that close to the mud, I would think you would want one. Looks like the original carb's still in place. Our belt guide or cover is still there. So here's that transaxle setup I was talking about. So you have your torque converter, your primary, and your driven. And then your driven is just hooked right onto this trans case, which I assume is either 2 gears or an internal chain. Pretty Hoss setup, honestly. Has a pretty funky axle support. So we have suspension here, dual shocks on a pivot swing arm. Kind of cool. No front suspension. Let's go ahead. I did pull it over once at the auction, so I know it pulls over. It sounds like it's got compression. got a band brake. Now I did read these things go about 40 miles an hour fully wrung out, and apparently the brake is not enough. So first things first, let's go ahead and see if it has spark, and then we'll go from there. Before we pull it over anymore to check for spark, let's actually check the oil. I have not done that yet. Get it broken loose here. Seems pretty dark, huh? We're on a little bit of a decline, so I expect it to be a little high. Looks pretty good though. All right, good enough for me to start it, or attempt to start it. All right, I don't know if you'll be able to see it out here in the sunlight, but I'm gonna go pull on it. Let me know if we have spark. Oh yeah, nice. That's a pleasant little surprise, huh? I think I'll get my air gun. We'll remove some of this nest. Oh, just blew apart that air filter. All right, so we got spark, we got oil. Feels like we have compression. We can go a couple different routes here. Let's see what's inside of our tank. Now, based on the cap condition here, I'm not feeling confident. Let me grab a light. Huh. Seems like a big bunch of chunks of plastic. A little bit of rust. Not rusted through, but not clean, that's for sure. Okay, we're not using that tank today though, so. Now, like I said, I put this thing in an auction, so I have no good way to know how long it's sat. Based on the mouse droppings, it's obviously been a few years. But this fuel valve is not that old. So I would think someone might have messed with this relatively recently. Also, that kill switch doesn't look too old. That wire. So I'm not gonna guess this is a 20 years. This might be like a 5 years that it sat. Ooh, we got a crack there? We're gonna have to investigate that a little later. Looks like there's a weld repair and then maybe a crack above it. Might have to fix that. All right, let's go ahead and pop this fuel line off, and we'll take the tank off my coot down there and just see what happens. All right, well, we procured our coot fuel tank, which is not actually the coot's fuel tank. I don't remember where I got this, but just kind of a spare tank I have around that usually lives on the coot. We also got the original tank pulled off because we're going to have to clean it anyway. Let's go ahead and see if this carb float wants to party or not. That's good. Our throttle down here isn't seized up, just our hand throttle or the cable itself. All right, let's go ahead and pull that air filter off. Oh, geez. Now we'll get some less than OEM manufacturing going on here. Here's our filter. That was holding on our filter. So it was just this holding the filter on, which, hey, at least they had a filter on it. Well, just working it back and forth with the cable and by hand. We got the choke working. Still no throttle though. But I think that might be because of this. Oh yeah, that's even coming back to life. Let's get some lube. What do you think of the new toy, Piggy? Yeah, it's not really a piggy toy, is it? No. You like stuff you can chew on. Maybe we can get some down that cable just a little bit. Probably not. So I don't really trust things with centrifugal clutches or torque converters like this. When you first start them up, they could be locked in or the throttle could stick and they take off. So for now, we've got this thing pinned against the side of my Jeep. Let's just pull on it a few times. I'm not an idiot. I'm sure the carb's gonna have to be cleaned, but it doesn't hurt to try first, right? I'm not seeing any fuel yet. Let's see if a little spritz of ether will wake anything up. There we go. We got some excitement happening. This thing is not easy to pull over. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Well, I would call that quite promising, huh? That carburetor's definitely going to have to come off of there. So let's go ahead and see what that's going to take. All right, it was just 2 little bolts to pull that air filter housing off. Looks like we got to get this cable out of the way. So of course, being built in Iowa, this thing seems like SAE hardware, but the engine itself is metric. These are just 10mm nuts on here, holding the carb on. There we go. That carburetor has not been off there in a while. All right, finally got that popped off of there. Here's our choke cable. Throttle. And lastly, gotta get our fuel line off of there. So before I dig into this carb, it is a Mikuni, so I assume that's the original. It has a gigantic bowl for only a 9 horsepower or 8 horsepower, whatever this thing is. It looks like BV24. I like it. It's a nice carb. Now place your bets. I'm gonna go with medium gunk, and I bet it wasn't letting fuel in at all. But we'll see in a second. Ugh. Maybe I have to grab an actual wrench, huh? Yep, we're grabbing an actual wrench. Well, maybe the bowl and the bolt are cast together. I don't know. All right. Not the best, not the worst. Definitely been sitting a long time based on the rust. It looks like we got an O-ring up here. That's long since cracked. I was right. There was absolutely no fuel getting into this thing. Huh. I don't have a carb kit. And that O-ring's definitely trash. So, that stinks. Well, looks like we got some more hillbilly repairs going on in here too. I see some tie wire down in there. Where's my pliers? I guess this is the right pin for this. I'm guessing this thing was a farm quad or trike. Seems like it lived a rough life and plenty of fixes going on, which I can appreciate fixes. All right, well, we had to break the tie wire, a little repair. That needle is really stuck. See it in there? It's got all kinds of gunk around it. Let's get some penetrating oil down on that. I guess this pin can just stay in here for now. And I get some penetrating oil all around the needle. While that's doing its thing, let's pull this thing the rest of the way apart. See if we can't fill that cavity with. It should work its way down onto the needle. Now I need a screwdriver. We'll start pulling things apart up here. So this vertical jet here. Oop, is the screwdriver going to do the job? Nope. All right. The diagonal guy here. Half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half, 7 and a half, 8 and a half. 8.5 turns. Five turns for that guy. No spring behind him. The diagonal guy does have a spring. Let's pull the idle screw just for fun. All right, well, this is not normal, but I let this thing soak for 2 days. 2 whole days. And I still couldn't get this needle out, so I actually took a little piece of filler metal here, which fit perfectly down in here, and just lightly tapped on it. And I finally got that thing out of there. That thing is trashed. I've never seen a needle so bad. This car badly needs a full rebuild kit and some parts, but they are completely unavailable apparently. All right, so we finally got our needle out here. It's absolutely destroyed. It's missing its little tip. Camera won't focus. And it's just, I don't know, it's like a sarcophagus of goop around the needle. I've never seen that. Let me see if I can show you guys. Like, there's like a layer of shmoo. All right, so we get the needle cleaned up as much as I dare. It looks horrible. Like I said, missing that tip is real bad. Just the whole thing's chewed up. It's super loose in the seat, so it's not going to plug off the fuel in any way, shape, or form. We dipped the carb for 2 days in chem dip, and it cleaned up okay. We pulled all the main jets, the seat, everything off of it, and then blew it out and all. A little bit of oxidation going on in here. We tried to get as much as possible with this brush, but some of it we just can't get to. So I'm going to keep plugging away at putting in our adjustments and stuff. It's gonna have to be what it's gonna be. I know this carb's obviously gonna leak, but maybe we can at least test run this thing a little off of it. All right, so we just checked. This guy was 8.5 turns in. It is nice having a video to do that. This guy's 5 turns in, so let's make sure we're starting off right. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, well, 4 is gonna have to be it, I guess, because it bottoms out. Cool. Where does this guy go? Okay, goes down in the bowl. I forgot about that. All right. Our float does seem to float. That's like the one good thing this carb's got going for it. No hole in the float. I haven't really run into that much with the plastic floats. Usually that's more of a brass float thing to happen. All right, sorry, my neighbor's still rolling off his exhaust. But we're gonna commit a sin here and use gasket maker on the float bowl, which I do not condone usually, but it's our only option tonight because the original gasket is pretty crunchy. So we do have the fuel resistant. We got it out of our grab bag of goops. So let's make it happen. Yes. All right, let's see how bad it leaks. Well, let's try starting it. Still no leaks, so I think we're not getting any fuel yet. But let's pull it over anyway and see. Ow. Went from having no hope in that carburetor to it firing right up. There's all the fuel I was expecting. All right, well, a couple things I learned there. The spark plug, I forgot, doesn't have the rubber cap on it, so I shocked the crap out of myself trying to hook up the throttle return spring. The electric shutoff switch doesn't work, and when I went to go choke it, it dumped out like a gallon of fuel. So, but it runs. Started first pull. Doesn't smoke. Sounds pretty good, so I think we'll at least get a test drive out of it, huh? Well, it's getting dark. I have no reliable way to shut it off. No idea if the brakes work. I've never ridden one of these. But we're gonna go ahead and try and take it for a test drive anyway. All right, it's getting dark quick. But man, it freaking runs and drives. Now carb needs some tuning. And yeah, I mean, that's really it. The brakes sort of work. They're not great. Throttle seemed to work. It seems to run pretty smooth, doesn't smoke. I'm impressed. I think that carb's gonna still be an issue though, but as long as we shut the fuel off, it seems happy enough right now. We just gotta do some tuning and get an air filter back on it. So, heck yeah. All right, well, one thing I can do tonight is try and get this tank cleaned up a little bit. Let's see what comes out of here. I think it must have had some sort of sealant in it at one point. All right, well, my preferred method for cleaning a tank like this is to grab a bunch of the biggest hardware you can fit and throw it all down in there, put the cap on it, and just shake it around like crazy. It's really best if you actually have a vehicle with an open diff and you jack up one side and kind of strap it to the tire. I didn't want to make all that noise this late at night, so I just did it by hand, and it is not perfect. It's far from perfect, but I got all the big scales like this stuff out, so it's a lot better than it was. As good as I'm going to get it with hardware. And then we also rinse it out with water, which I'm going to do one more time, and then we'll let it air dry all night and get some fuel and oil in it tomorrow to make sure we don't promote any rust. And of course we will run a filter on this. So we're going to call the tank good enough. It is in really rough shape. I think this machine was pretty beat on. Definitely used in its life. It's got a lot of tank dents, especially this big one back here. Like, geez. Well, while our tank's drying, I figured out two things on this thing. The headlight does work when we hook it up to a little Milwaukee battery here. And we do actually have a kill switch that works. It's right here. I was thinking it was this switch. That's the headlight switch, which also had some janky wiring. So I'm going to try and repair the wiring for the light here, and we'll fire it up and see if we actually have a working light and a working stator generator. Oh yeah. Sweet. So I just did away with that switch. It was super janky. We ran 2 butt connectors in here. Not really, ideal, but for this thing, I think it'll be just fine. We do still need to heat shrink them. So we have a working kill switch. We're on the way to having a proper fuel system. We're in the dark. Sorry about that. Not ideal filming. One of the other big things we got to do is an air cleaner setup. And I guess for now, I don't have any other parts to make one. So we're going to reuse the original janky one. But probably do away with this mouse-eaten pre-filter. All right. I've got to say, this is officially the jankiest air filter assembly I've ever, partaken in manufacturing. But it's only going to be temporary, I hope. Now, the magnum opus of this all. The hook. And it just pokes through the filter like so. Bingo. At least they gave me a wing nut. That's official. This would have been a junky operation if it was a regular nut, but a wing nut, perfection. Alrighty, it's the next afternoon. Our tank's looking dry, but still pretty crusty. I don't know. In the past, I've used fuel tank sealants, like Red Coat, but just recently I've been hearing a lot of bad things about it. It's hard to get, and I don't know. So we're gonna try and just go without it, but we'll definitely be running a fuel filter on this rig. All right, running an all new fuel line here. The finest fuel line Amazon could get us. Definitely going to run a shutoff because I've aired my grievances with this carburetor. Definitely a leaker. It's going to be. Actually isn't yet, which is surprising based on how wrecked that thing was. A lot of people hate these little fuel clamps. I don't mind them for applications like this. And what would I do without a Leatherman? Probably use the right tools for the right job. I don't know. Fuel line works like that and it's sealed up, so I guess we'll leave it. But I probably should move that inlet so it was a direct flow. Alright, well I dumped some fuel in it. Let's see how the carburetor and everything wants to play today. Didn't see any leaks yet. But I want to go ahead and get this carburetor tuned in. And since this thing doesn't have any gears, specifically a neutral, it wants to take off on you the whole time you're trying to tune on it. So we're going to pull the belt off or at least attempt to pull the belt off, so we can get this carburetor somewhat set up. Well, of course, it's some weird size. Ooh, it's a skinny belt. Aha, got it. It'll be good to get all the mouse droppings out of there. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and get it fired up. Actually, I'm gonna clean the plug once. All right, well, the plug was a little rich, but nothing crazy, so let's dive right into trying to get it fired up. See if we can't tune it in. Well, I can't for the life of me get this thing much better than that. It just seems stupid rich. And I'm wondering if it's the condition of our carburetor. I even tried cutting the fuel off a little bit. All right, well, there is always the chance that this thing is just absolutely loaded up with fuel. It's super rich, although unlikely. Let's try and take it for a cruise around the backyard anyway. I threw the belt back on it and the plastics. Oh, she's going. All right, we're gonna try my best to keep my foot out of the clutch because I did not put that cover back on. Why would you do that? What happens if we shut the fuel off? Picking up a little bit. Yeah, it's not getting any better. Alrighty, we're gonna end out the video here on this little guy. So it still does not run very good. We've got some carburetor issues. I really wish I could find a carb kit, which if any of you know how to find a carb kit for a KF82D-X Kawasaki engine, that would be great because they seem to be relatively unobtainium. I think that's our only issue with this engine. Otherwise, it seems to idle and just run really smooth, no smoke. So, pretty cool episode today. We got this little machine picked up from the auction for pretty cheap. Got it running and got it riding relatively easily, and we haven't invested a single penny into it other than buying it at the auction, so that's pretty fun. The series or the videos are not over on this machine yet. We will be doing another video where I figure out how to make this thing run right, whether we find another carburetor and adapt it on there, or hopefully find a carburetor kit to save the original. I may throw a tube in the front tire because that does go flat overnight. We need a little bit of welding done on the frame here, and I need to service the engine and the trans axle. And then we're gonna take this thing for a proper ride outside of my backyard. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And one more thing is the little red machine, the similar one at the auction, that sold for $100 more than this one. And the fella who bought it already listed it on Facebook. He's asking $800 now, and I don't think he's done a single thing to it, and I don't think it runs. So he's trying to more than double his money on it, which hey, I guess hate the player, not the game, or hate the game, not the player. Anyway, I have no plans on selling this machine yet, so please come back for the next video if you enjoyed this one, and I will hopefully see you then. I'm gonna leave you guys out on a couple clips of me doing some hot rod tricks on this baby. See you guys next time.